Hello, BookTube. I come to you today with another reading from Century Magazine. This is May 1888. Century Magazine is a magazine in which they took excerpts from a book yet to be published, and they would publish the stories in Century Magazine, and then they would get published. It's kind of like an advanced reader copy. It's sort of along that lines. This one is Abraham Lincoln: A History of the Border States by John G. Nicolay and John Hay, private secretaries to the president. Excuse me. Uh, John G. John G. Nicolay and John Hay published this 10-volume set of Abraham Lincoln in 1904. 1902 to 1904. It's a 10-volume set, and I saw the set, the original set on Amazon Prime. Someone wanted $1,200 for it. There are cheaper ones that you can buy as paperback, and I don't know. I couldn't find out when they were published, but it's paperback, and one was $60. One volume was $40. So you could go a long way. Anyway, let's go with rebellious Maryland. No sooner had the secession ordinance been secretly passed by the convention of Virginia than Governor Letcher notified Jefferson Davis of the event, and doubtless by preconcert invited him to send a commissioner from Montgomery to Richmond to negotiate an alliance. The adhesion of Virginia was an affair of such magnitude, pressing need to the Cotton States, that Davis made the vice president of the new Confederacy, Alexander H. Stephens, his plenipotentiary, who accordingly arrived at Richmond on the 22nd of April. Here he found everything as favorable to his mission as he could possibly wish. The convention was filled with newborn zeal of insurrection. Mainly lately stubborn Union members were willingly accepted offices in the extemporized army of the state. The governor had that day appointed Robert E. Lee commander-in-chief of the Virginia forces, which chose the convention immediately confirmed. Stephens was shrewd enough to perceive that his real negotiation lay neither with the governor nor the convention, but with this newly created military chieftain. That very evening he invited Lee to a conference, of which the late federal colonel forgot the sentiment written by his own hand 2 days before, that he never again desired to draw his sword except in defense of his native state, and now expressed great eagerness for the proposed alliance. Lee being willing, the remainder of the negotiation was easy, and 2 days afterward, April 24, Stephen and certain members of the convention signed a formal military league, making Virginia an intimate immediate member of the Confederate States, and placed their armies under the command of Jefferson Davis, thus treating with contempt the convention proviso that the secession ordinance should only take effect after ratification by the people, the vote of which had been set for the fourth Thursday of May. Lee and others endured this military exportation, under which they became beneficiaries without protest. No excuse for it could be urged. After this time, not the slightest sign of hostility in Virginia had been made by the Lincoln administration. No threat, no evasion, no blockade, the burning of Harper's Ferry, the Ghost Port, were induced by the hostile action of Virginia himself. On the contrary, even after these, Mr. Lincoln repeated in writing in a letter to Reverend Lee Johnson, which will be presently quoted, the declaration made to the Virginia commissioners on the 13th that they intended no war, no invasion, no subjugation, nothing but the defense of the government. At the time of the Baltimore riot, the telegraph was still undisturbed, and by its help, as well as personal information, private letters that startling occurrence of succeeding insurrectionary uprising was speedily made known throughout the entire South, where they excited the liveliest satisfaction and most sanguine hopes. All the Southern newspapers immediately began clamors for an advance on Washington. Some of the most pronounced Richmond conspirators had all along been favorable to such an enterprise, and extravagant estimates of possibilities were telegraphed to Montgomery. They set forth that Baltimore was in arms, Maryland rising, Lincoln in a trap, and not more than 1,200 regulars and 3,000 volunteers in Washington, that the rebels had 3,000 men at Harper's Ferry, that Governor Letcher had seized 3 to 5 steamers on the James River, that the connection Southern railroads could carry 5,000 to 7,000 men daily at a rate of 350 miles an hour per day. As a leader, we want Davis. An hour now is worth years of common fighting. One dash and Lincoln is taken, the country saved, and the leader who does it well be immortalized. Get a drink here. This from a railroad superintendent supposed to have practical skill in transportation looked plausible. The Montgomery cabinet caught the enthusiasm of the moment, and on April 22nd, Jefferson Davis telegraphed to Governor Letcher at Richmond. In addition to the forces heretofore ordered, requisitions had been made for 13 regiments, 8 to rendezvous at Richmond, 4 at Richmond, 1 at Harper's Ferry. Sustain Baltimore practical. We reinforce you. This dispatch shows what a farce even the Virginia Military League was, since 2 days before its conclusion, foreign rebel troops were already ordered to the sacred soil of the Old Dominion. Governor Letcher was doubtless willing enough to respond to the suggestion of Davis, but apparently he had neither the necessary troops nor preparation. He had as yet been able to muster but a shadowy force on the line of the Potomac, notwithstanding his adjutant general's pretentious report of the previous December. Nevertheless, hoping that events might ripen the opportunity into better conditions for success, he lost no time in sending such encouragement and help as were at his control. The rebel commander at Harper's Ferry had already communicated with the Baltimore authorities and effected a cordial understanding with them. They promised to notify him of hostile minutes or approach. Mason, late senator, appears therefore to have been dispatched to Baltimore. He seems to have agreed to supply the Maryland rebels with such arms as Virginia could spare, and some 2,000 muskets actually found their way to Baltimore from this source during the following week. Though an arrangement to send 20 cannons, 32-pounders, to the same city from the Gulfport and Navy Yard apparently failed. But it would appear that the project of a clash at Washington found an unexpected obstacle in the councils of Virginia's new military chief, Robert E. Lee, who assumed command of the state forces April 23rd. He instructed the officers at Alexandria and along the Potomac to act on the defense, to establish camps of instruction and collect men and provisions. This course was little to the liking of some more ardent rebels. They telegraphed in substance that Davis' immediate presence at Richmond was essential, that his non-arrival was causing dissatisfaction, that the troops had no confidence in Lee and were murmuring, that there were signs of temporizing, hopes of settlement without collision, and the consequent danger of demoralization, that Lee dwelt on enthusiastic north and against aggression from us, said another dispatch. Had conversed with General Robert E. Lee. He wishes to repress the enthusiasm of our people. His troops not ready, although pouring in every hour, they remain here. General Cooke had 300 and no more. Corps of observation of Potomac near Alexandria. He considers Maryland helpless, needing encouragement and succor, believes 20,000 men in and near Washington. And no state where the secession plotting more determined and continuous than in Maryland. The first, a small but able, wearying not the Baltimore conspirators sought to commit her people to rebellion by the empty form of secession ordinances. They made speeches, held conventions, they seized the governor with committees, they joined the Washington conspirators and treasonable caucuses. They sent recruits to Charleston, the site of the Baltimore riot, and there is no doubt that in these doings they reflected a strong minority sentiment in the state. With such a man as Pickens or Letcher in the executive chair, they might have succeeded, but in Governor Hicks they found a constant stumbling block and an irremovable obstacle. He gave the Southern commissioners the cold shoulder. He refused at first to call the legislature. He declined to order a vote of holding a convention. He informed General Scott of the rebels' plots of Maryland and testified of treasonable designs before the investigating committee of Congress. His enemies have accused him of treachery and cite in proof a letter which they allege he wrote a few days after Lincoln's election, in which he inquired whether a certain militia company would be a good man to send out to kill Lincoln and his men. If the letter be not a forgery, it was at most an ill-judged, awkward piece of bandages, for his repeated declaration of acts leaves no doubt that from first to last his heart was true to the Union. He had the serious fault of timidity. In several incidents, foolishly gave way to popular clamor, but in every case he soon recovered and resumed his hostilities to secession. The Baltimore riot, as we have seen, put a stop to the governor's arrangements to raise and arm 4 regiments of Maryland volunteers of picked Union men for the United States service within the state or at Washington. Instead of these, he, in a flurry of uprising, called for existing militia companies, mainly disloyal in sentiment and office by secessionists. The Baltimore authorities collected arms, brought mutants, and improvised companies to resist the passage of troops. They forbade the export of provisions, regulated the department of vessels, controlled all the telegraph. General Stuart commanded the state militia, established post patrols. In effect, Maryland became hostile territory to the north and to the government. The Union flag disappeared from its soil. Excuse me. Excuse me, sorry to clear my throat here. For 3 or 4 days, treason was rampant. All Union men were intimidated. All Union expression and manifestation were suppressed by mob violence. The hitherto fearless Union newspapers, in order to save their offices, materials from destruction, were compelled to drift with the flood and print editorials advising in vague terms that all must now unite in defense of Maryland. It was in this storm of stress of insurrection, Governor Hicks protested against Butler's landing and sent Lincoln his proposal of meditation. And on the same day, April 22nd, and by the same influence, he was prevailed upon to notify the legislature to meet on the 26th. Happened that the seats of the Baltimore members were vacant. A special election dominated by the same passings were held on the 24th. Only a states' right ticket was voted for, and another 30,000 electors in the city, 9,244 without opposition, elected the little knot of secession conspirators, the Union men not daring to nominate candidates or come to the polls. For the moment, leading Unionists of Maryland deemed the true roe one of patience and conciliation. In this spirit, Reverend Lee Johnson, a lawyer and statesman of fame and influence both home and abroad, came to Lincoln upon the stereotyped errand to obtain some assurance in writing that he meditated no invasion or subjugation of the South, to which the president confidently replied, "I forbore to answer yours on the 22nd because of my aversion, which I thought you would understand, to getting on paper and furnishing new grounds for misunderstanding. I do say the sole purpose of bringing troops here is to defend the capital. I do say I have no purpose to invade Virginia with them or any other troops, as I understand the word invasion. But suppose Virginia sends her troops or admits others through her borders to assail this capital. Am I not to repel them even to the crossing of the Potomac if I can? Suppose Virginia erects or permits to be erected batteries on the opposite shore to bombard the city. Are we to stand still and see it done? In a word, if Virginia strikes us, are we not to strike back, and as effectively as we can? Again, are we not to hold Fort Monroe, for instance, if we can? I have no objection to declare 1,000 times that I have no purpose to invade Virginia or any other state, but I do not mean to let them invade us without striking back." and it goes on like that. And this is a picture of the Governor Hicks of Maryland. Let's see what else we have. Oh, okay, that'll be all for today, and pick it up again some other time. So thank you for watching.